السلام السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. I want to talk about this popular trend on social media. Um, it's very common. I see it with sisters these days and age. And it's a trend where sisters uh, lose their modesty. And what I mean by losing their modesty is it shows in a number of ways. A few of the ways that it shows on social media is through um, profile pictures, stories, writing, meaning posts and comment sections on social media, especially on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You know, one of the things I see, the first thing that I have noticed is that the coming out of hijab. This is something that is very common that I see from sisters is the coming out of hijab. And I'm not talking about women or sisters who don't wear hijab. I'm talking about the ones who wear hijab, but they come out of it, whether it's taking off of the kimar, whether it's having a kimar or covering their head, but the body is revealing, right? Or they just show it all. Astaghfirullah. And then that is the number one thing I have seen, especially in stories. They post, so they'll post a profile picture. Unfortunately, a woman who was muntakiba as the profile picture, and then you will see their storyline, their posts. They're not muntakiba. They're not even a person who have taqwa. They're out of hijab. Their hair is out, or they have tight clothing, and they reveal it all. And then you have the other types of sisters where they're covered, but their mouths are not covered. And I don't mean wearing niqab or a veil. I'm not talking about a burqa. I'm talking about they don't have no hayat when it comes to how they speak. They talk about sexual events, sexual things. They talk about their sexual lifestyle, things they have preference to sexually. And this type of speech in Islam is yani la yajuz, is not permissible in the public. Is this These type of things are not permissible? And then when I look at it, especially for women from my culture who are Muslim, African American sisters who are Muslim, where I see them on social media, is like hayat, having modesty, they don't understand the purpose of hijab because they think they could wear hijab, but their mouths are filthy. There's no type of modesty in their speech and how they talk in the public. So you could find the sister who is covered, covered, but she has the mouth of a whore. She has the mouth of the whore. As the whore speaking to other whores like herself, they speak about their sexual meetings, or what they have done with their uh, customers or lovers. This is the language. This is how whores speak. I'm from the inner city. I'm from New York. I'm from the inner city in New York. I grew up through the AIDS epidemic. I grew up in New York when the crack epidemic and the AIDS epidemic coincided with each other. I seen all type of filth growing up in New York in the 80s. So I know how whore speak. I can remember some of my associates when I was a kid. Some of their mothers were the first people to die from the AIDS epidemic because their mothers were whore in the street. I remember when I was a kid, I was telling my mom that I knew every curse word in the streets. She's like, "How you know this?" Because my mother had an associate who was our neighbor who was a whore, and this is how she spoke. This was the language that they speak. Unfortunately, in the black community, people view women like this who speak like this as being strong women. This is not a strong woman. So we have in our community, in the African American Muslim community, when we have some of these things from Jahiliyyah still with us, even when we convert to Islam. So if you listen, or most of the conversations with the interactions of whores with their clients, this is the type of speech they're talking about. Sexually, they sexual events with men, how they like the sex, how they like sex. And you have sisters who are covered speaking like this on Facebook, saying that, you know, she liked the man with long hair so she could grab his hair in the bed, or she wants him to be like this, or wants to be like this, or this position or that position, and so on and so forth. Where is the yani hudud? And here hudud means, where is the had? Where is the limitation? Where do we stop at? Where do we stop? When we stop bringing these type of conversations and language and the way we speak out of our mouth. Why people on Facebook that have to know your sexual encounters and what you like sexually? That's something being a zawj wa zawja. That's between the husband and the wife. And I'm not speaking about where the people are describing the details of the sexual event between their spouse, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbid these actions, forbid these type of statements, and people like this who talk like this are cursed. But we have some sisters, I notice you're not married and you're speaking like this to the opposite sex on Facebook. You're posting the pictures coming out of hijab. And you have the men who are not your mahram responding. And then we have those sisters who have these type of lewd conversations. And those sisters will have the lewd pictures. I grew up in the 80s. I was born in the late 70s. And I could, like I said, I could remember when the crack epidemic crossed over into it, the AIDS epidemic. I remember that growing up as a kid in the 80s. And I can remember some of the associates, or I grew up with kids when I was young, who mothers were the first people to die from the AIDS epidemic, who were either on crack and whores. I can remember conversations they used to have. Unfortunately, in the Black community, women associate with other women like this, even if they're not living this lifestyle. They associate with women like this, unfortunately, in the Black community. And they even leave their children around women like this. That's how I know the language. That's how I know these women's language and behavior. That's how I know as a man, as a child growing up. And if you're a Muslim, you don't fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you hold these conversations in public on social media. Having haya is from ad-din al-Islam. Hijab is not just clothing or cloak. Hijab, covering yourself from what Allah legislated in the Quran. The hijab is also with your mouth, how you speak and how you talk. And that goes for the women and it goes for the men. I love women. I love women. Any of my associates who personally know me are gonna say Abul Baraa love women in the halal way. In the halal way, right? In the halal way. But I think I talk with my companions about these haram things sexually with women? No. When I talk to my associates about women, it's about marriage. Hey man, I like to marry from this country because the women in this country are submissive to their husband. They're beautiful. They're not known for being lewd, and they're submissive. So men love submissive women naturally. And then I would say to them, oh, I don't like women from here or from there. I don't want to say, hey, we're in the US. I'm talking about the US. I would say, because the women from here, they lewd, they mouths, and they lewd. And then what we know from experience in this country, in America, lewd women with this type of mouth, we don't know. Maybe she's cheating. Maybe she has more than one sexual partner. Maybe she have more than one sexual partner. Then, I think sometimes the benefit of being a revert Muslim, a person who converted to Islam, especially me in my early 20s, when I was 20 years old, converting to Islam, I know about Jahiliyyah. That's one of the benefits of converting when you're older or you're up in age. You know about Jahiliyyah. So I know about the Jahiliyyah. No one could tell me about Jahiliyyah because I experienced it myself. So when I say, hey, man, I don't like these type of women because they're lewd and they speak like this, that's because if you're speaking like this on Facebook and you are covering yourself on Facebook, imagine what you do in private behind closed doors or when no one's watching you. Just imagine what you're doing. Especially if you don't have shame in the public. Just imagine what's going on with you behind closed doors. And then for you brothers who chase after these type of sisters on Facebook and you're commenting in their comments, as I'm watching some brothers commenting with these lewd comments and lewd pictures, it say a lot about your personality as a brother. And I say, I love women in the halal way. I love women in the halal way, in the lawful way. But I'm not gonna go chase no sister and then she's naked or posting lewd things or saying lewd things. I'm not gonna say, hey sister, what a great statement or what a great picture or whatever type of language that you're going to use. And I wasn't born Muslim. I'm from New York. New York probably got some of the most exotic women because New York, we have the multicultural area. It's multicultural, people from different nationalities right here in New York. So growing up in New York, I seen all women from all type of nationality, with every shape, every look, all that's in New York. In the inner city, in the black community, so you got all that with black women and Latino women right here in New York. I seen it all in all type of behaviors. So if I see a sister, she's covered and she's speaking a certain way on social media, lewd language, and you're a brother in her comment section, she might be talking to men like that in her job. And most likely, sisters who behave this way on Facebook, if they have a job or they dealing with men at work and they work outside their home, they dealing with men like this in their job. They talking like this in front of men in their job. And you want to marry this? She's talking like this. If she talk on Facebook where everybody can see what she's doing, imagine what she's doing in her job. And most of these sisters that I'm describing, they work. They have a 9 to 5. And then you brothers don't notice, well, these sisters have children and not married. And young children, not grown children, young children in divorce. And you're not even trying to figure out why she's divorced. You just want to get up in the DMs. And Abul Baraa, I love women, but I love women in the halal way. No one even Facebook don't know if I'm married, single. I don't talk about my business and my women on Facebook. And that goes for the brothers. You need to think twice when you're posting pictures of your women and your female children, because we have a lot of sick peoples on Facebook. We have a lot of sick peoples on social media. But particular for the sisters who do these things and for the brothers who chase them, I love women, Abu Baraa, I love women. But I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not an idiot. And if a woman behave a certain way on Facebook, imagine what she's doing at work or behind closed doors when no one is looking. Just imagine. I remember many years ago, I worked in Home Depot, many years ago. This is like 2005, I think, or six. I was saving some money to go back to Egypt. And there was a woman in my job, this white lady. She was Italian, right? She could pass for Latina, right? But she was Italian. So one day she put her hand out to shake my hand. I was like, I don't know, I'm Muslim. I don't shake hands with women. And she laughed at me. She said, that's the most stupidest thing I ever heard of. And I explained it to her. I said, because this is out of modesty. And it cuts between me and you any type of foul play. Any type of foul play. I told her that. It cuts the door and it's out of respect. And it said it prevents sexual harassment. A week later, the same woman, she left the job. A week later, left the job. She left the job and two of the managers in the store got fired. Two male managers, right? Got fired. Two male managers got fired. So this same woman who told me what I said is stupid, she left the job because of sexual harassment. The boss, the two white bosses, was having sex with her for her to get a schedule that fits for her child to pick the child up after school because she was a single mother. So the two managers in the job, especially the main manager, they was banging her. They was banging her. And I think the other manager was banging one of her other female associates at the job. They was banging her. And then she told them she's not going to do it no more. So what they did was they turned around and told her, okay, then we're not going to give you the schedule that you wanted that suits you. So they gave her the hours to come to work while her child was in school and coming home, and she's at work. And I thought about it. This is the woman who was laughing at me because I told her I don't shake hands with the opposite sex because of sexual harassment and things like that. It closed the doors for a lot of things. Yes, sisters keep on acting lewd on Facebook and saying these things. When you talk like this on social media, some psychology here. When you speak like this in the public, it opens the door about your sexuality. When you're telling this brother that I like men with long hair so I could grab it in the bed, you're describing to us, whoever's watching you, your sexuality. That's something that should be sacred between you and your spouse, not you and you and your would-to-be spouse, though. You and your husband. So if you're on Facebook talking lewd like this, describing sexual acts and things that you like in public on Facebook, that shows that you have no modesty. And if you're like that on Facebook, imagine how you are in the public, at work, around other men that are not your mahram. Then some of us brothers will look at the non-Muslim, especially from the African American culture, look at the non-Muslim, and we see with our counterparts from the black community who are not Muslim, how men be raising other men children and don't know it's his, thinking that his children is his child. He's raising children that he think is his, and he get a DNA and find out that it's not his. And we look at this and laugh. You don't think that's not happening in the African American Muslim community? You don't think there's no, if you looking at them and saying that's wrong, then how are you gonna look at the women who have the lewd speech and the lewd pictures of themselves from our sisters, but you find nothing wrong with that, and you trying to holler at them? Do you know that type of behavior them sisters are talking about, lewd like this, is the same type of behavior of the non-Muslim women we see in the black community that have another man raising children and it's not his until he get the DNA test and find out? That same mindsetting that she have is the same mindsetting the sister who's talking about all her sexual business on Facebook and sharing this with different men. You know, I'm trying to edit some work right now, this book right now, but I just wanted to say that. I've been trying to edit this book for a long time and edit some translation of a book right now. But I wanted to say that because in the African American Muslim community, we have a lot of this going on Facebook and social media and things like this. In the Muslim community in general, but I see a lot more from our peoples. I see a lot from our sisters. Because in the Muslim world, there is some sense of the woman have some sense of modesty. And she does, and the thing about it, the women in the Muslim world who have the sense of modesty, they're not no scholars in no Islam, they're not no students of knowledge, but they have the sense of modesty because it's part of the deen of Islam. It's part of the religion of Islam. It's understood. And then even the non-Muslim, when you look at the Muslim woman in hijab, they understand this is a sign of modesty. I truly believe if we know better, we do better. We really need to start understanding the religion of Islam and stop just, taking Islam for face value and not studying it and then not implementing certain things. And then from the brothers who you're chasing these women who are lewd like this on Facebook, either showing themselves coming out of the hijab in public on Facebook and you're hitting in the comment sections, or the lewd sexual talk from the women, and you see them with small young kids in divorce, now you know why they're divorced. Now you know why the sister's divorced. And you chasing that, you're just gonna be the next victim. And you're chasing that. Now, you can see why they divorced, because imagine now, because you don't know, maybe the sister was like that while she was married, talking on Facebook to different men. Now you married to her, you see her on Facebook before you got married, talking like this, and you marry her, she's not going to change for you. She's not going to change for you. Social media is addictive in these behaviors. She think you should overnight her Facebook is coming down when she marry you. No, she gonna be still like this. Them brothers she's talking to still gonna be there on Facebook page or Facebook profile in her comments. Even when she might even not even tell them that she's married. I'm out of here. She might not even tell them that she's married. Oh, then when she do tell them that she's married, right? They still gonna be on her page looking at her and the stuff she posted about you on, giving you hostage. And then when you have a fallout with her or a disagreement with her, she gonna be telling everybody on Facebook, and this is the women y'all guys chasing on Facebook. Come on, man. Come on, you gotta use this sometimes. Sometimes you have to sit back and just use this. A lot of us, men and women, we be begging for punishment with our behavior and the type of people we look at to marry. A lot of us don't know how to pick the correct spouse. That's including men. That's including brothers too. A lot of the women don't know how to choose a right spouse. And that goes for the same brothers. And goes for the same for the brothers. We don't know how to choose women. That's why a lot of us get in these type of predicaments. You can just look at the type of women that we're chasing on Facebook. And I love women. I'm gonna say that. I love women. But look for the halal means. Halal means. And then for you sisters who are already married and you're posting these pictures of yourself without hijab, makeup on, and this and this and that, and you wonder why your marriage is going wrong, man, just look at your Facebook and your social media. That stuff is not, you think Allah going to reward you and bless you while you're doing these things? This is some of the means or mediums that lead us to divorce. Ain't no man going to be happy with that. And if you women can't understand that, then you're going to be continuing in the same predicament. That's why a lot of the young, the we call them the Z nations. I think people between the ages of 20 to 40. That's why a lot of us between the ages of 20 and 40, the marriages don't work out with you because we like these new trenders with this social media and this and that, and that stuff is destroying your communities. You women want to put yourself out there like men, and you're mad because your husband don't want you to. You don't want your husband don't want you to do this, but you are pushing it so hard. And then when the woman gets divorced from the man, she goes on Facebook, is like more of the hijab and more of her clothes come off. The more of the hijab and more of her clothing will all start coming off. You know, a lot of people can't take this. A lot of African American Muslims and Muslims in general, you know, the young people, especially in the African American Muslim community, especially the ones I see on Facebook, the sisters, man, this stuff right here, y'all sisters will never have no successful marriage. I could say they got blame it on the men and blame this and blame that, but if you have these type of profiles and this type of dealings with yourself, this with lewd and no modesty, and if you wearing hijab and you coming on Facebook, makeup on, pictures in your stories, one day showing your hair, one day not, and this and this and that, you will even open the door for yourself, somebody just to get with you just for your looks, because they already know that your deen is shot out. So they just want you for something sexual because they already know your deen is shot out. And if somebody just wants you just for something sexual and they know your deen is shot out, he would think in his mind, well, he'd rather get with you with your deen, even though your deen is shot out, than with the kuffar. Because the kuffar woman, in the end of the day, he don't know who she with. He might see you with this shot out like that, might say, maybe she have a little bit of taqwa and won't cheat on me. Bro, I could do my dirt and feel safe. I could do my little thing with her and I could feel safe. And then when I'm finished with her, I'm out of here. Yeah, because the marriage is like the dating system in America. Your marriage is like the dating system. So you got a new boyfriend this week, this month, another few months, got another new boyfriend, or broken up, looking for somebody else or a new boyfriend. Your marriages, the marriages in the inner city reflects the dating scene. Matter of fact, your social media sisters, your social media profile look like the dating profiles. If you go to the dating websites, your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok will look just like the women from the non-Muslim on the dating websites. And your marriage is like the dating scene. With this, how the dating scene of the disbelievers is how like your Islamic marriage are. At least we tried. I heard some student of knowledge from the SP followers telling some young couple who got married and recently divorced, at least you tried and it was halal. At least you tried. Then everybody in the community start doing this. No accountability. Then what happened to the children that come from this? Temporarily, these temporarily setups that guys make, calling it marriage or nikah. And everybody, half of the people, the young people in the community is doing this, marrying, divorce, and there's kids involved. And somebody like this would say, at least you tried, it was halal. This is Musa Richardson. He said this nonsense to some young people in his community. At least it was halal when you tried. This is how we answer and reply to dysfunctions. To the dysfunctions that become the norm in our society. At least it was halal. We got a lot of this nonsense in the African American Muslim community, man. We got a lot of our sisters calling for this and practicing this, and brothers chasing these women. In some sense, we could say, oh, maybe new to Islam and you tried. Alhamdulillah, But if you like in your 30s and your 40s now, and you're still doing this nonsense, then there's something wrong with you as an individual. If you a sister and you in your late 20s, because women mature quicker than men, women mature quicker than men in this society, women mature quicker than men in this society, and the society pushed the women up more than they pushed the men. So if you a sister, you in your mid 20s, late 20s, in your 30s or your 40s, and you still going through this, it means something wrong with you. Brothers likewise. There's a lot of this dysfunction in our community. We need to start talking about this stuff, because what type of future are we going to have if our women are lewd, our men are chasing lewd women, lewd sisters, and you're having children and getting divorced, and you keep on remarrying and having children and divorce. You know, I have 3 kids. Alhamdulillah. I'm divorced. I have 3 kids, all with one woman. I have 3 kids, all with one woman. Inshallah, I have another set of 4 or 5 with another woman, inshallah. But some of you brothers and sisters, you have set of kids with 2 or 3 or 4 different sisters. It's a different story. You practicing polygyny. But your brothers, a lot of you are not practicing polygyny. A lot of your sisters, you got different children by different men. And you're like still in your 20s or you're in your 30s. You in your 20s or your 30s, and you got like 4 or 5 kids with different men. You know, and it's definitely ain't no polygyny. You can't have no 2 or 3 husbands. But you're marrying and divorced like that. That's a dysfunction. That is not normal. That is a dysfunction. That is not normal. Even in the Muslim community, that is not normal. You know where you find that type of behavior? You know where you find that type of behavior? Go look in the Kitab al-Nikah, the book of Nikah and Fiqh. The type of marriages that were practiced, Nikah. Nikah really means in Arabic, sexual relationship. It means sexual relationship. There was different forms of nikah practiced in the time of Jahiliyyah. I think it was 5 or 7, and the Prophet prohibited most of them, except for two. I think one. All right. The different forms of nikah, sexual relationships that people practice in the time of Jahiliyyah that the Prophet prohibited. One of them is like just how sisters are today. Is that the woman, she's a whore. She have multiple men partners. Multiple men partners. Right? Multiple men partners. Multiple men partners. One of them get her pregnant. She don't know who got her pregnant. And she turn around and she gathered the men. She look at one of them that she likes the most, maybe got money, can maintain the child. Said, look what you did to me. Some of your marriages, how the halal marriages are performing and doing, how it looks like, the way you're practicing it, it looked like because you're marrying, then you're divorcing, then you got a new husband, marrying him, having children, then divorcing, they start having sets of kids, 1, 2, 3. Your marriages start looking like this type of behavior. Even though your marriage is lawful, you're in the marriage contract, you're marrying one person, but you're not having a real marriage. You're divorced. And then you start having children by multiple men. And then the brothers who keep on having children with these type of women. You already see the sister got 2 or 3 kids by different men, and you're still trying to marry her, and because you could get by, you could do what you want and be out. There's no, brothers, there's no accountability with women like this. So you can do your thing, and as soon as she get on your nerves, you just leave. You get divorced. State of dysfunction. This is dysfunction that we need to start talking about in the African American Muslim community. It's a dysfunction. It's a dysfunction. A serious dysfunction. especially from the young people in the ages 20 to I think in their 30s, mid 30s, even upper 30s. Because I have met some sisters that got kids by different guys, different brothers. Philly, New York, Philly, New York, Philly, New York, black or Latino, unfortunately. Black or Latino or Caucasian. You know, I lived in Canada. So you got some Caucasian sisters. I lived in Canada doing this also. This stuff gotta stop. This behavior gotta stop. And it's not gonna stop as long as you brothers keep on chasing these type of females and you sisters keep on having this type of behavior. It's a setup. It's a setup. Let's be real. It's a setup. The sister who doing this, she's following her wife, and the brother who chasing them, you know it's a setup. You know what you're doing. You know why you like these type of women. It's easy. And once they get on your nerve, it's easy to go, it's easy to leave because there is no accountability. There's no accountability on her end or your end or in our community as a whole. There's no accountability. Only time there's a form of accountability when the women go ask for child support from the legal system. That's the only time you see accountability. I'm out of here.